gunfight. He is pouring rounds into this car. Kansas City homicide was able to make an arrest. He keeps asking, why are you here? Welcome back to the Debrief. Eric Immesberger, retired ATF, and retired NYPD JP Cassidy, who did 7 years in PSA 2 in Brooklyn, which equals 25 years anywhere else. That's a fact. Ask anybody that works out there. Tonight's episode is going to be the things that haunted us when we were working, and will haunt me the rest of my days and all of the people in my squad. That's how bad these cases were. If you took the collection of violent offenders that we were working in Kansas City, Missouri, when I had the gun squad, which was just a fantastic welding together of ATF agents and Kansas City, Missouri detectives and a sergeant. Elite, just hitters. The only way to describe it. People that showed up every day to make a difference. And they did, and we all did. But if you take that circle of violence and you narrow that circle down to the center, you get the absolute most violent, devoid of human value of human life, and people that would, I always say, you never know what somebody's willing to do. The people in these three cases showed us what people are willing to do as part of the criminal enterprise. I'm not going to say the names of the victims, and I'm not going to say the names of the bad guys. Some of these cases are unsolved to this day. Not unsolved that we don't know who did it, but unsolved where an arrest has not been able to be effected for the actual bad offenses that were the center of some of these cases. So the first one we're going to talk about was I should back it up. To give a little, pull the curtain back on how the gun squad made magic happen, literally sprinkling pixie dust on whodunits and coming up with the goods. Kansas City homicide was able to make an arrest, and it was beautiful. So we got particularly good at the sprinkling of the pixie dust and making magic happen that the police department wanted the gun squad and two other squads to do what's called homicide rotations. So 2 weeks, the gun squad would have it, 2 weeks career criminal would have it, 2 weeks the gang squad might have it. And that means in those 2 weeks, if you're up at bat, you're going to respond to every single homicide in the city with the homicide detectives. Not that you're there to interfere, but we're there for whatever our lane could bring to help against a suspect. For instance, we had quite a number of these kind of cases. A murder's committed, no suspect, and no gun at the scene. However, we get some cooperator informant information. Hey, that murder that just happened, I know the guy that's got the gun. I can get in there and find out what happened, and I can introduce one of you guys to buy the gun. And we did that a number of times. The homicide squad, Kansas City, very insular squad, even within their own department. But we got a trust, a relationship, and built on successes and what we could bring to the table to make magic happen, to advance the investigation. So that's a little bit of background. So the first case is a So a lot of houses in Kansas City are single family houses, standalone houses. 150 years ago, these were probably beautiful neighborhoods, beautiful houses, good people, but not so much in the areas we were working. But this one particular house was a corner house, and it had a front porch. You could put a few chairs, you could be out of the sun, and it was elevated looking down about 30 feet along to the sidewalk to the street. So that's the setup. A car pulls up in front of this house. We'll call him the bad guy is on his porch. Well, the car that pulls up has two adults, and it has, I believe, a 3-year-old in the back seat. There's a bit of an argument that lasts a very short time, and then it's a gunfight between the guy on the porch, and he is pouring rounds into this car. Do the adults get hit? No. The kid in the back seat catches one in the head, and he is dead. And the car takes off. And nobody wants to cooperate. And the guy that was on the porch really can't deny that a shooting took place, but he is uncooperative, to say the least. Good. So we get involved with the homicide. And the homicide case is not getting traction against anybody involved in this incident. So what we decide to do is things that the gun squad can bring to the table. So what we did is we parachuted a cooperating individual that was able to quickly get a relationship with bad guy from the porch, and we start buying guns from him. And he's a good, righteous target, federally prohibited. So we do a few gun buys. Our last gun buy results in an armed robbery against the cooperating individual. He doesn't get shot. He's able to get away. And the gun squad, we were out there monitoring this operation, and we were able to move right in and make an arrest. So good. Everybody's happy. But just before that final arrest, there was yet another murder at this house. A male that was walking past the house. So this is a corner house. So the front of the house had the front porch. This male is walking on the sidewalk along the side of the target house. And there's a driveway there off the street. This male is shot dead. Shot multiple times. He's on the sidewalk, dead. We all respond out to that because now this house and this bad guy are just, they have gotten the attention of everybody. That's an unsolved murder to this day. But it is believed that the original person driving the kid had come back, thought this guy walking on the sidewalk was the original bad guy from the front porch, and just executed him. That is an unsolved case to this day. So our original bad guy, we were able to put him away on federal gun charges. The murder cases just did not come together the way we wanted it to. I'm just referring to my 100-year-old notes here. But he did get a lot of time on the federal charges for the armed robbery, the firearms, the buy cases. So he bit off a good chunk of federal time, but he has not been held to account for the murder of that kid, and nobody's been held to account for the murder of the guy on the sidewalk. And that that makes a little bit of a void in the investigators, especially the homicide detectives, because you have a very good idea of what has occurred in all of these incidents. But, you know, the prosecutor's office has got a very high bar to make an arrest for murder, and it just was not able to be done. Murder is one of those charges that don't go away. There's no statute of limitation on murder. Information comes forward in 25 or 30 years, the homicide unit will make an arrest if they are able to. It's almost in New York City what we used to call, you could clear the case, an exceptional clearance, an EC, meaning we can write a report, what we believe absolutely happened here based on all this information. We know who our bad guy is. We know what happened, but we just are unable to charge for these murders. But that's one that we're going to think about for a long time. There's a kid that was shot and killed, and we were not able to get justice. And there was an innocent person walking on the street shot and killed, and not able to get full justice for that guy. So moving on to case number 2. This, the police were called for numerous shots fired at a private residence. They were fired from the street into the house, occupied dwelling. There's numerous people inside this residence. Only one person is hit, and that was a 6-year-old kid shot while he's sleeping in his bed, dead. There's shell casings everywhere outside in the street from a SKS type long gun, commonly called an AK on the street. It's a 7.62 round. And that is a case that we go out, we want to try to work, help out where we can, and we do. But the murder investigation is not getting forwarded. Nobody is cooperating. So we do what we do. We go, we'll get the information another way. So we parachute a cooperator into the general area of where all this happened. And we're ATF, gun squad, get some gun buys going with the gangsters that are in this area. And he does. And one of the buys was fairly comical. It's some young guys and one of their dads. And the dad later died, I think, in the middle of this case of natural causes, shockingly. But one of the kids that was in the room on one of the buys, so we're recording this, starts crying because he's been arrested federally and he's got an appearance date coming up. And he's just done a little bit of the Google schmoogle research, and I'm sure talking to his lawyer about the federal sentencing guidelines. And he realizes that he is drilled. He doesn't realize how drilled he is yet, because the other shoe that's going to drop is our gun buy case. And he's crying during the gun buy. He's crying. Oh my God, you have no idea how much time I'm looking at. This isn't like a city arrest. This is crazy. He's crying. Good. So now we're buying handguns. So we had the cooperator ask, hey, can I get some choppers, street term for the AKs, SKSs? And they go, oh, hold on. Pulls out his phone, makes a phone call right away. And the guy he's talking to says, sure, I'll bring one over right now. And he does. And we buy it. And it turns out to be, it ballistically is the gun that shot and killed this kid on the drive-by in front of his house. He was killed in his bed, drive by from a vehicle. Good. We're on the right track. So now we are able to determine the kid that made the delivery. Where did he go back to? Who's he? Who's his associates? All of it. And we then come up with the suspect. And Kansas City Homicide Squad is able to make an arrest for murder based on the gun buy cases that we got going, how we breadcrumb trailed back the murder weapon to the guy that ultimately winds up getting arrested. And so that was satisfying that we were able to help the homicide unit get the information that would lead to that collar, to that arrest. So that was good. But, you know, even when you do make an arrest for murder, you still got a victim. And when you're dealing with child victims of murder, shooting deaths that all revolve around the drug game, you really don't fully get over them. That is a annoying thought that can creep into your mind from time to time. And there was an arrest made. The bad guy is going away forever, but that kid is still dead. And that hurts. It hurts a little less when a bad guy kills another complete bad guy. That's bad, and that arrest is going to happen too. But bad guy violence, hey, you go out in the rain, you're going to get wet. Part of your trade, part of your business, what you do. But that was a case. And our original gun buy subjects, they're all doing federal time now. So bravo. And we just move on to the next one, and then you're doing like the 10-ball juggling act with all these serious violent cases that you got going on, and we produce. We are able to make the magic in a lot of them. And it's just due to we never quit. We don't stop. If we have an obstacle, we get around it. We have a dead-end investigative method lead. We move on. We find another way to do it. We make our own luck. We're never going to stop. We're never going to quit. And that is really an element of these elite units, the homicide unit, the gun squad, career criminal gang, and the undercover squad. And it just goes on and on. So the last case, which is by far the most horrendous of these three cases, because it's got a few different parts to it. The two bad guys in this case are brothers. So let that one sink in, that some mom has to realize that I birthed these two kids that have killed probably at least 25 people. At least. And that's from their admissions on conversations, where one guy said to a victim, "Do you want to be number 23 for me?" And, he had his own death count going in his head. So this one brother, we'll call him brother number one. Brother number one, and both of these guys were heavy-duty drug game people. They weren't selling an ounce. These guys were moving pounds, a lot of pounds. Heroin, cocaine, weed. They were, for street guys, they were the upper stratosphere of a street guy, not a, you could almost call them what we call a DTO, drug trafficking organization. But when you say DTO, that kind of more implies a very organized, just in business forever organization importing into the United States. These two brothers were not quite there. But what they were is they were armed robbers. That was their bread and butter. They're like, why pay for a few pounds of heroin when I can break into your house, torture, terrorize, and steal all of your heroin and money and everything else that you have? So that's what brother number one did. And he did this, if I remember, down in Texas. And he did a very large armed robbery home invasion of a quantity of heroin. Okay, back to Kansas City he goes. And now, hey, when you steal, it's 100% profit. I didn't have to invest anything other than gas to drive down to Texas to do this armed robbery. So, like every other bad guy with no mechanisms to figure out problems on the home front, he's got a girlfriend who's got a little kid. When I say little kid, I want to say maybe a little over 5 or 6. A little kid, not 13, young kid. Well, bad guy number one discovers that some of his heroin is missing. He immediately suspects his girlfriend. So he does, what any normal person would do. He executes the girlfriend. And then, because the kid, the slightly older kid, knows who he is and is present when mom gets iced, he kills that kid. Gun to the head, boom. Don't leave a witness behind. But there is a 3-year-old left behind. He doesn't do anything to this kid. So when the police finally get to the scene, there's bloody footprints from this 3-year-old all throughout the house. He's been walking in his mother and siblings' blood and just walking around the house like no concept of what has happened here. That's brother number one. So I feel good about being retired because I'm going to relate the savagery of what brother number two does. Brother number one clipped 30 years. And that was from a collection of convictions. He is not getting out for a long time. So we'll move on to brother number two and what this guy did. Always involves kids. Hate this. So brother number two, this guy sets up a several pound deal. We don't know precisely what that deal was for, but it was for narcotics and it was for several pounds. So, bad guy that's showing up with money, correction, I believe he was showing up with the narcotics. Bad guy number two was showing up to buy it, but he wasn't showing up to buy it. He was showing up to do an armed robbery. So, the guy with the narcotics, we'll refer to him as Father of the Year. And I'm glad to say I've been able to confront that guy a few times just to let him know what we think of him. So this occurs on 71 Highway, which to everybody in Kansas City, that is a main highway that goes north-south, and it covers from about the center of Kansas City, once you come down I-35 and you're going to head west on I-35 to go into Kansas, if you go straight, it turns into 71 highway. So a few lanes southbound, a few lanes northbound. And everybody in the law enforcement world calls it Felony Freeway because 71 highway seems to just be the occurrence point of so many bad things. So, Father of the Year is coming back from a family event at a bowling alley. And he's got his two kids in the back seat of the car going to do this dope deal. And he's got, I believe that kid might have been about 6, the victim kid. His brother was a little older. Let's call him like 8 or 9 years old, something like that. So Father of the Year leaves the bowling alley. He's got his 2 kids in the back seat, and he's going to meet what we're calling bad guy number 2 of the 2 brothers. They meet on 71 highway, nighttime, side of the road, except Father of the Year is expecting money, and he gets gunfire. It's an armed robbery. Why buy your narcotics when I can just shoot you and take everything? Except he doesn't shoot Father of the Year. He shoots the younger child literally right between the eyes. That kid is dead right there, dead in a second. The other kid is not hit, but he's got to live that he sat a foot away from his brother that got shot right between the eyes with a head that exploded all over the back seat. Bad guy number 2, I guess we're calling him, he takes off. Father of the Year does what you would do, JP, what I would do if one of our kids was shot. We would go back to our house to get rid of any evidence in the car. Then, with that accomplished, okay, now we'll go to the hospital. And the other kid in the car has been exquisitely coached on what to tell the police when he gets talked to. Just can't even drive back home from the bowling alley anymore. Just these gangsters want to drive up alongside you. Do a drive-by shooting. Crazy. Except what bad guy Father of the Year doesn't realize is there's somebody in his orbit. It's that allergy time of the year in the Midwest. Somebody in his orbit is aware of the behind-the-scenes story. And this person reaches out to the homicide detective and tells exactly what's going on, how the kid was coached, how the dad comes back to clean out the car before he drives his dead kid to the hospital. So, and this person in this guy's orbit was trustworthy and was absolutely telling us the truth. All the information corroborated with the facts and the crime scene. Now, in most homicide investigations, before you're making an arrest, there's certain details of the crime that the homicide detective is going to keep close to the vest. We are not putting this out to the public. We're not putting this out to the media, and we're not putting this out to anybody that doesn't have a need to know. Because when we catch the bad guy, we don't want him to have heard details outside of us that he's just going to regurgitate back. We want a unvarnished story, uninfluenced story by anything other than the truth. So that's always the goal. So the narcotics transaction and the dad going back to the house to get rid of stuff out of the car, coaching the kid, then bringing the dead kid to the hospital, his dead son. You would think that there would be somebody that would abruptly present themselves as the storyteller and say, hey, this is what happened. But the fear of any witness, the fear amongst family members, nobody is going to come forward. So we've got that going on. We've got the information close to the vest that the homicide unit is absolutely not going to put out. And this occurred about 10 years ago. But city leaders, not the mayor, but some others, came out and gave news interviews. This is terrible. Poor guy's just bringing his kids home from the bowling alley, and he is sincerely upset about this. I'm listening to this news story, and I wish I could just reach through the TV and grab this politician and say, hey, how about you just say nothing until you know what's going on? How about that? But, you know, yet another guy that, you know, you don't have a need to know. So you're not going to know the inner information that we know. Homicide guys know. JP, when I say we did Herculean efforts to get into this guy, to dirty up friends that would then be the storytellers, to try to get a gun buy, try to get a drug buy, get any buy into Dad of the Year, get any buy into his close circle, and then cooperate one of them. We're not able to do that. And we tried a lot. And the cases that haunt us, that, you know, there's no justice for that dead young boy, and there's certainly no justice for the Dad of the Year. And the guy that murdered the child, we know who he is, and it's what we do. It's what detectives do. It's the homicide guys do. They are able to get credible information of what occurred with our brother, suspect number 2 brother. Okay, so we are on that guy. We are going to lock him up for anything we can get, and we're going to put federal charges on him. And then when he's on ice, in other words, in jail, and he's not getting out, people that have information will be much more forthcoming and not be in fear. So you got brother number 1 that is sewn up 30 years. But now you got brother number 2 that, again, we're not able to get anything on this guy. And we are following him because he's a player in the drug world, and he is a murderer. Is brother even a more prolific murderer? So, okay, we're going to find a way. We're going to make our own luck. We're going to grab this guy. So we do intensive covert surveillance on this guy that we're calling bad guy number 2 of the 2 brothers. And we figure, okay, we'll grab him making a delivery. And, okay, we got a nice start point. that would be good. It would be really good to get the murder weapon on him, but that was like a little too high of a wish. So there's one day we see him and he definitely picks up a package and he jumps back in his car and he is driving as if he's being chased. We call the Kansas City PD helicopter, 692. They get on this guy. And now we've got the SWAT team, SNUTAC, with us and all the gun squad and others. So we've got an armada. And now we go from covert to overt. Now we are going to chase you officially and try to stop you before you can get to wherever you're going. But he's driving so recklessly that it's really the helicopter that can only keep sight of this guy. And they follow him to a house and they go, okay, here's the house. His car's out front. He just jumped into this house. He had a bag with him. So the SNUTAC guys immediately knock on the front door. You know, we don't have enough to break the door down, but he opens the door holding a baby like a shield. It's like, hey, don't touch me. They get the kid out of his arms, and just by luck of having to be in the right spot at the right time with the SNUTAC guys, I cuff this guy up. I bring him outside, and I stand him in front on the side of my ATF truck, and I can see the veins in his neck are pounding, and the sweat is coming off him. And he sees all of the Kansas City detectives, the SWAT guys, the helicopters, you know, doing low and slow around the house, except he looks at my vest and says, ATF, police. And he goes, ATF? Fed? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, what's this all about? Now I got to try to play this cat and mouse game with him. And from dealing with enough murdering savages, Brooklyn, the Kansas City, and other places, I've got a theme that I want to run past this guy. I have to make him think that this whole magic show isn't for the dope that he just ran in the house with. So this is the back and forth tennis game I start playing with this guy. I haven't read him any rights because I'm not questioning him. He is doing all the talking to me. And this is what he says. He goes, ATF. Like I haven't even verbalized who I am, but he can read it. And he goes, ATF. What are the feds doing out here? And this is the tact that I take with him. I'm like, well, you know what we're doing out here. And he goes, no, why are you here right now? I'm like, and I'm calling him by his street nickname. I want him to know that I know who he is. He doesn't know who I am. And I said, you know exactly what this is all about. And this plays back and forth like 5 or 6 times. You know, the tennis ball goes over the net. And I'm literally only saying, you know exactly why we're here. You know exactly what this is all about. That's it. That's all I'm saying to this guy. I am not asking him not one question. But this dude is in stressful because what I want him to think is that we are here for you icing that little kid in the backseat and a few other murders that we know about too. I want to make that fear palpable to him. And it's, by my observations, it's starting to take hold because this dude is sweating. He's breathing fast. I can see the chest. He's just standing there in my handcuffs. I'm standing in front of him. He's standing by my truck. I took a picture of him. Still got it. And so this goes back and forth. And I didn't think he would get this reference, but I said it to him anyway, because now I'm getting nowhere. You know, this is not advancing other than you're very scared, and I'm not telling you everything. I'm showing you nothing. I'm telling you nothing. So he keeps asking, what's this about? What's this about? You know, what do you think I did? What do you think I did? I'm like, you know what I think you did, because I know what you did. Look around. Is this a patrol car with 2 uniformed cops? It's like 30 guys in a helicopter out here and a SWAT team. What do you think? Okay. So then he keeps asking, why are you here? Me. In the sea of law enforcement. This is what I say to him. I don't think he understood it. But he's in jail. Maybe he'll look it up. I said, hey, and I call him by his nickname. I said, don't ask for whom the bell tolls. Because, brother, it tolls for you. Right here, right now. And then I took a step back, and I was going to have no more conversation with him. I don't know if he was a reader of Ernest Hemingway, but, you know, if nothing else, it's a funny story down the road. A book about when the bell tolls. It's because either somebody's been found guilty at a trial or they just got sentenced to death. I don't think he understood that reference. If somebody said that to me, I would have been in Stressville. The bell's tolling for me. However, we were able to put him away for, I think, 8 or 9 years on federal charges related to a firearm, but he has yet to pay the price for that one murder that we've discussed, the murder of that child. And he's just a suspect in several other shootings and murders. And yeah, just evil. Evil. The cases that haunt us, and I know they haunt the homicide detectives because they had to deal with this day in, day out, all day, all night, 7 days a week. And we were trying to help them, as were other specialized units, any way that we could. And we just weren't able to come up with the jackpot that was going to put him away forever. But very a common factor with everybody that I worked with was pretty religious. Everybody had a very solid belief system. And as we like to say, everybody's got a court date on the other side. See how that works out for you. Life on earth is long in some respects, long in possibilities, but it's very short as to the time that we spend on earth. And when that time closes, you have a court date with the Creator. And I think that you may be held to account for that conduct, killing a kid, during an armed robbery of drugs, no less. The cases that haunt us, JP, the cases that haunt us. And feel free if you had any questions about that shocking tale of 3 cases. And there's numerous other cases that we could talk about, you know, savage murders, kid murders, that we actually were able to do our little part to help make an arrest where somebody actually got held to account. But again, bad guy murders are bad. They're bad because they, in spite of their conduct, they have innocent family members that love them And it's so when somebody goes to prison, a real bad person, the carnage and wreckage that gets left behind of their family, that's a real thing. Of course, nothing compared to the carnage and wreckage of the victim's family going forward, especially a victim's family where an arrest for a few reasons was not able to be effected. That makes it worse for the family. They feel that they just haven't been given justice for what happened to their loved one. And we adopt that sense of urgency. You have to be somewhat unemotional about these things. If you get sucked into the horror of child murders, which you really can't help but get sucked into that a little bit. But if you allowed yourself to just go into the vortex, you would become ineffective at your job. You would become ineffective to the investigation, ineffective to the squad, and you're probably going to be half a mess at home. So there's got to be that emotional detachment from the horror, and you have to have your eyes on the prize of, we are going to wave the wand, make the magic, make our own luck, drill this thing till it can't be drilled anymore, and effect an arrest. That's the goal. But that emotional detachment from the horror of especially kid murders. And, people say, my God, what could be worse than that? And there was another case that had occurred right before I came to Kansas City. It was a home invasion, drug related, and a victim was tied to a chair. His ankles were drilled out with a power drill. I don't think that feels good. And that was as good as it got for that guy. And bad things also happened to the other family members that were in the house. And that's just the savagery that these people devoid of value of human life. And it is entirely in pursuit of money, cars, things, because why are they in that drug game? To get a mountain of money as fast as they can get it. And they typically spend it as fast as they steal it, do robberies, drug sales. And they're always chasing that next gym bag full of money, either through an armed robbery, a home invasion, or a large scale narcotics transaction. And it just repeats itself. Just like we go to work every day because we need to get a paycheck, these guys go to work every day. And there's nothing random about home invasions. There's knowledge or belief that you have kilos, large sum of money, or some other illicit whatever in the house. That's the target of home invaders for the large majority of these type of crimes. There's also business owners that carry large amount of cash, jewelers. They're going to be prime targets for this kind of thing too. But the vast majority, it's the drug game that drives that particular kind of crime. Yeah, horrible. But that's what we signed up to do. It's a volunteer sport. And we feel a satisfaction when we're able to get justice for these homicide victims, the victims' families, and most importantly, make sure that this defendant is not going to be able to harm anybody else. And that's the true goal. That's how you protect the community. You go after the worst of the worst, you put them away, and they can't hurt anybody else.
Eric, you mentioned that Hemingway quote. Another quote from Hemingway.
The hunting of man. The hunting of man. And once you've done that, nothing else will suffice. And I actually put that on a liquor flask that I gave every member of my task force one Christmas.
There is no hunting like the hunting of man.
Yes.
Now, how did you put together such hunters, the best of the best, looking for the worst of the worst, you would always say?
Like-minded individuals seek each other out, high-performing, like-minded individuals. And really, if you looked at my task force, other task force, the commonality was a bunch of likable, extremely talented individuals that would not quit, that would not stop, would not accept defeat in an effort. They would find another way, make their own luck, attack it a different way. We don't stop. We don't go home. We are going to solve this case. We're going to solve the problem to solve the case. So the beauty of it is everybody had capability and they had capacity. The capacity to learn. We always used to say, you have to learn how to become an expert at becoming an expert in whatever little thing that we're trying to figure out. Like, we have to learn everything about that. We had, again, another child executed next to the mama on a another case. And in the garbage can at the scene was an empty box of bullets. And it was the same, the description of the bullet is what was used to shoot this 3-year-old and his mother. And the 3-year-old was shot simply because the bad guy didn't want to leave a living witness behind, a 3-year-old. And it was his 3-year-old. So they find this empty box, and it's the same ammunition that was expended in the murders. Inside and written on the box, there were markings of lot codes, other codes that indicated where this went to. We became expert at decoding those codes, and we were able to put from the factory to the distributor to the store that sold it, and who did they sell it to? The murderer. But we had to figure that out. Crazy, but becoming an expert at becoming an expert. And not everybody's going to know everything. Like I say, you don't have to know who the king of Siam is, but you better know how to find out. And that was really the mark of the elite task force members. People that just wouldn't quit and had the ability to adapt to whatever the situation was and be likable. You have to be likable in a task force where you're going to spend more time with each other by far than you're going to spend with your own family. So they're your second family, your work family. And that ability to be likable, coachable, admit mistakes, not be scared in the least to throw out a new idea. Hey, I'm just spitballing, but maybe we try this. Maybe we look at that. Yeah, you might be the person that came up with the case cracker, the way that we're going to go after this crew or this guy or gal. So, and that differentiated itself from what I call paycheck agents or paycheck cops. They're there for a paycheck. Some of them are going to do everything you ask, but not one step more. They're not owners. They don't have a feeling of, this is our house, this is our adventure. They're there for a paycheck. And then within the paycheck people are the people that are really there just for a paycheck, and they are going to do nothing except what is just specifically requested. Like, hey, I need you to please do this. Okay. No initiative, no forward thinking, no care to do the job. And these, listen, every police department, every federal agency has got them. If you're a big enough agency, you can find a broom closet to stick these people in and just say, come out when you retire and, give us your badge and guns and, we'll wish you good and buy you a cake, get you out of here. But everybody's got them. And everybody's got the elite performers. Thank God. Thank God to the victims and the public that you have people that care beyond belief about doing the job, the job. Yeah. I was fortunate that I got to lead a group of just people faster, smarter, stronger, better than me. And it was pure pleasure to be able to lead them, to be able to get them anything that they needed to, put the war effort further forward. That was my job. That's what I love doing. You need something, I'm going to get it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to figure out what you need before you even know that you need it. And before I forget, JP Cassidy, you spent a day with my gun squad. You were out in Kansas City before you got married, and I saw you from across the street. I'm like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Come out with us. I'll pick you up. There, throw this vest on. I know you don't have your gun with you, but, we got another gun here for you if you need it. Please don't shoot anybody, but if you have to. And you got to literally witness a super active day. I think we executed at least one search warrant, grabbing bad guys, trying to percolate further deals off the guys that we grabbed. You got a really good view of what the gun squad did. And everybody remembers you too. They're like, that guy, it's like Leo DiCaprio. Everybody thought you were Leo DiCaprio. Not far off. But yeah,
I
that
knew
was a lot of fun.
day, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, find a new room.
Was inspiring. They were hard chargers.
You have to possess humility. It's the greatest of all of the virtues that, we learned in high school. Humility. The ability to be humble. The ability to instantly admit, okay, I'm looking at this the wrong way. I made a mistake. Here's how we're going to fix it. And that, hey, we're not selling shoes and we're not selling insurance. We're going after the most violent of violent bad guys. Sometimes you're going to have setbacks. You're going to have mistakes. You're going to have, we probably shouldn't have done that. We should have done this. Inevitable. But the other side of the coin is the humility to say, hey, my bad, and here's how we're going to fix it. We're going to readjust, redeploy. We're going to try another idea, another way of going after this. And being a leader, you can't have your heels dug into one course of action. Like you've formulated this thing and you're married to it. We always say a plan is good, but don't fall in love with it because the plan may be out the window, when the first bullet goes through the air. So you have to be able to adapt seamlessly, change tactics, adjust the team, all to accomplish the main goal, which is to get the bad guys, stop the violence, and get justice for the victims, protect the community, the umbrella. Yeah. But, we're very much the gray man. We don't seek the attention. We don't want the attention. We never want to really talk about methods that we used yesterday. They're still fresh. We're still using them. We don't want to give the playbook away to the bad guy. And I've been out of the game 7 years now. So a lot of stuff I talk about, this is the way we did something 10 years ago. Not necessarily the way with current technology that particular problem might get attacked. But one thing that never changes, it hasn't changed since the year 1500 to 1500 years from now. And that's the ability of you have to be able to get somebody to tell you something that they don't want to tell you. And that goes for law enforcement. That goes for all of the client-facing negotiations, relationships, trust building, unit building, leadership. You have to have tools in the box, the ability to communicate, be likable, be coachable, and further the deal down the road. These are all the things that we put together in these little mini courses that we have. And when people say, my God, how do you do that? How did you make that happen? How can we make this happen? And we go, it's not a secret, but it's putting it. Look, when I would teach people how to shoot or tactics, I say, do you want to be an expert shooter? Master the basics. That's it. It's that simple. So in all of the client facing, master the basics. Be likable, be able to have a conversation, be able to be humble and be sincere and truthful in everything that tumbles out of your mouth. Because the first time you get caught up in something that's not so, that could be the deal killer. And we don't like deal killers. We like deal makers. So again, these are all the little ingredients that we put into these courses, to our consulting, team building, unit building. What does a successful unit look like? What does successful leadership look like? And successful selection of leadership. What does that look like? Because that's a whole thing in and of itself. And again, one of the great quotes that I heard, getting it here, and this is a very old interview, but it was on TV and I remembered it. 3 members of the Delta Force, and you can't even use the word Delta anymore, it's a small mission unit. But anyway, 3 of these guys are getting interviewed by a reporter who asks, how did you guys get selected for this assignment, for this unit? They're looking at each other. Finally, one guy says, look, the strongest people didn't make it. The smartest people didn't make it. The fastest people didn't make it. But the right people made it. And that right there sums up, how do you put a unit together? It's putting the right people in the right chairs, the right training, very important, the right leadership, and sit back and watch the numbers explode. Consistent performance. Quarter 1 is behind quarter 2. Quarter 3 numbers crushed quarter 2. Year over year performance. Putting the right people on the bus, putting the right people in the seats, putting the right people in your unit. That is literally a foundational concept if you want high performance out of a particular unit. It goes for the squad room and it goes for the boardroom. Seamless application of concepts. And that's why we love it, JP. Do we like nothing more than doing these conference calls with unit supervisors, team members, coaching them up, getting that positive energy going, and getting the ingredients in the right proportion to make the magic happen. High performance. It's not as hard as people would think, but you have to want to think it, and you have to want to do it, and you have to go through the process. And when you do that, especially with some very basic training that we offer, you too will be amazed at the results. I've done this in federal task forces all over the country. I did it as a detective in Brooklyn, and there's no secret at all. But there has to be a will to do it. There has to be a will to want to put that kind of unit together. And once you have the will, we can guide you, your company, your leaders through making the magic happen the way I was able to get the magic out of my squads. It's not secrets, but putting it together has got to have the will.
Everyone wants to be humble, but no one wants to be humbled, I recently heard.
I got to tell you, I didn't mind it at all. My guys, to reel me in, I had a safe word. Literally, I had a safe word. If any of my guys, and it didn't matter, the guy that was there for 20 minutes or 20 years, if they felt I was getting a little too in front of my skis, a little looking over the cliff too close, they would use the word platypus. And that was like the gentle, okay, take a step back. Let's relook at what we got, drive forward. Because my attitude and the attitude of everybody in my squad out here, the gun squad, was we envision success everywhere we go, in everything we do. And if we're not 100% successful, we're 100% learning, adjusting, moving the pieces, setting the battlefield, setting the table for success. If your unit has an inability to make micro, mini, or sizable adjustments on the fly based on the principles that we lay out for you guys, you won't enjoy. It's what separates a good unit from an outstanding unit. And again, it's not secret, but we will open up the cookbook and guide your leadership and your team, your corporate unit, through the precise ways that we put these elite task forces together, that literally lives were in the balance daily. How we solved problems, how we adjusted, how we made our own luck. How do you fix this problem? How do we get beyond this speed bump? And once you have the mindset and the will to want to do it, the rest is fairly easy. The no quit mindset gets you through anything. Yeah. I get excited on a Saturday night talking about stuff like this, or a Monday night, or a Sunday night, any night. If somebody calls me at 11 o'clock at night and they like, hey, I was just thinking about this thing that you were talking to us about yesterday. Can I just bother you for 5 minutes? I'm like, 5 minutes, 50 minutes, whatever it takes. Let's go. I'm ready. I'm good. You have to want to help, and you have to want to be helped. It's, again, these aren't like rocketry questions to get to the moon. These are basic human interaction skills to get our product, get a contract, to get people to the moon. We can do this, and we will do it.